Hi, my name is Taylor, aka my pseudonyms The Daniel Abel or His Hat. Not to be confused by my best friend, whose pseudonym is Daniel Abel 51. It's just a thing that we made up in kindergarten. Don't let anything goofy dissuade you from having fun with your friends. As requested, I'm doing a more extensive tour of our realms. But first, here's a little information. So right now, 33 people are invited, and the world was created right after the aquatic update. In order to install my world, you will download a folder that looks like this. You have to have either WinRAR or 7-zip in order to open it. Go down to your search bar, go to %app data, %.minecraft saves. And then extract this folder or open it up. And drag it in. After it's done installing, go to single player and then click on this world. Mine will look a little bit different because I'm in creative mode, just more easily show you where everything is. Just know that before we start, a lot of the signs have very vulgar words on them, so if you're uncomfortable with that, then don't watch. So explaining the history of the server first starts with our first antagonist, in a sense. This person was banned because they were harassing us by killing us over and over again, but we came to an agreement that he will stop playing on the server and we'll convert his land into some sort of botanical garden. So going through this place, you can see that a lot of things are just not finished. There was a vault that he was trying to make. And there's another portal, and the house over there was made by his friend, but she left once he was banned. So going through here, you'll eventually get to the city. Just follow the path. When building or going through a task in life, tell yourself to do the minimum amount of work possible. Chances are, once you start, you will want to do more. We didn't start off with a giant project to begin with. We had small little houses and built upon that to what you see today. Unfortunately, the path does end here because we were never able to finish this mob spawner. Most people just want to know that they have been hurt. Know that I read every comment I receive, good or bad. Okay, and now we've come to the first historical site. So, in the beginning, we made this world, and I played it on the first day, but I didn't play for that long because I had to work for about a week straight without any breaks. So what I did was I got enough diamonds and enough obsidian to make an enchanting table, and I put it on top of this floating island over here. As you can see, there's something else built here now, but at the time it was just this floating island and an enchanting table on top of it, and I claimed that land. However, when I was gone, my friend ended up building this building right here, and this is what kind of inspired us to continue our journey in this world. Compared to everything else, it doesn't seem like it was that significant, but at the time we were in awe. We absolutely loved this house and we thought it was amazing, and we wanted to continue either one-upping it or emulating it in some way. And that might be one of the reasons why this whole world is medieval themed, is because of this. So, historical site, first house. This was the first house ever made on the server, and is one of the reasons why we're still here today. He also built a farm over here. It is now covered up and has some sort of castle. But as you can see, there's a melon farm and a pumpkin farm right here. It was very useful to us in the beginning. However, let's take a moment to just look at the map to kind of see where we started and then where we started building. So the spawn is over here. We moved over here, the first mountain biome that we could see. After that inspiration, then we just started actually playing the game for real. We went exploring all of the caves and whatnot and finding diamonds. And during that time, we made this little camp. This is Aiden's camp. It flew up, no one fixed it, but that was completed. And since this was a really good memory for us, we decided to just make it into a little park. But these trees weren't here originally. It was just these 3 tents, a place for us to sleep at night. So after a long time of grinding and getting our supplies, we decided to finally fight the Ender Dragon. And we continued to keep on using the Ender Eye to eventually make this marker over here. So this is the great T marker. It just points the way to the end. It's over that way somewhere. This world is a lot different when you're flying past it. Don't you ever forget the flaws. So to get to the end, you could just keep on going over where the marker's pointing on the map. You can see the end is right over there. So this is where we are. And that's where the end is, over there. However, unfortunately, a lot of the paths in the Nether were changed because we restarted the Nether after the 1.16 update. So there's only one path. Only path goes to the end. We had plans to make a Nether hub, but it never really ended up working out. Always underpromise and overdeliver. It will always make it look like you've worked even harder than you already had on something. Bad memories because of what I'm going to explain soon. But a lot of this stone and a lot of the builds in here were cheated in by me. Even though this room down there and in there and in that room were the only things cheated in. The fact that it was kind of cheapened the game almost. It made it seem like, what was the point of continuing to play survival if all you're going to do is just cheat in the box? Don't ever cheat in a game, because at the end of the day, it's not going to make you fulfilled in what you create, especially when everybody else is in survival. And when you feel guilty about something, it's okay to admit, because people will end up forgiving you as long as you're actually sorry about what you've done. This is also one of the first builds that we did, was this giant aqueduct and this little town underneath here. We decided to make this small little town as a way to kind of get us back into the game. Because again, because the cheating occurred, people didn't really feel motivated to play the game. So here are some of the little creations we made. It is, we're gonna have a whole story about the city, you know, a kind of big difference between the rich and the poor, and maybe even a Robin Hood type character, but we never got around to doing that. So this is all we have left. And as you can see, a lot of the buildings around here have an almost structural way of building, like a real life structural way of building. This is how I used to build back in the day, but I ended up getting a little bit better. Okay, going through the end, you can see we did this a lot later, of course. It was a huge project and we pretty much just flooded the world. That over there is the old Enderman farm that is now defunct. It was made by the same guy who made the buildings of the botanical garden in Spawn. However, this building just didn't work out. So we made this one with a bunch of endermites. So this right here is the historical courthouse. And this was very important because it kind of added a layer of responsibility and order to our server. It was created after my cheating scandal where I duped blocks, and yeah, it was really a good idea. So we made this courthouse in order to figure out what exactly we want to do, because we want to play on the server still, but of course cheating only cheapens things, so we want to figure out exactly how we should deal with it. So if you go over here, you can see Taylor versus the people. Guilty. Taylor. Yep. And flying as well, while lying to the public. What I had to end up doing was taking all my stuff, burning it in lava, and just entirely restarting from scratch, because we couldn't really take down the whole base itself because it was just a lot of effort. So we decided that I might as well just get rid of all my stuff. We had a wanted sign because we wanted him to stop. This is the same guy who made the botanical garden, but he didn't end up stopping, so we banned him. Unfortunately, he's a good guy. It's just at the time he was a little bit rude. So we also have another court case here, Duck versus the people. Guilty Duck. He was found guilty of stealing all the sea pickles from the city and people. He was actually banned for some other reason, but it was never in a court document, so there's about 3 or 4 people who are banned. It's that person, Duck, and some other messy situations I'll get into later. But again, sometimes things like that happen. So after the cheating scandal, we decided to start building for real. So we made a sheep farm. The sheep farm is over here. And then we start working on the walls. So this right here, all the way down and around here, were some of the first building projects that we've ever did. We continue the style a little bit down there as well later on, but this was one of the first projects in order to make a grand city. Of course, we did not know that it was going to be this massive, but at the time we had big ambitions and somehow we filled them. At the same time, my friend Jack was starting to build his beach house, and he's the same person you guys motivated with this house. So he is very, very special to the server. Because not only did he motivate us to continue building, but he was also a very fantastic builder. And as you can see, where a lot of you guys might have heard about the server was through this tunnel. In the first tour I gave. This tunnel, he was building for a while, but it actually started after the walls were built, and then continued on for the rest of the server. This was a very long and tedious project, and it ended up working. At this point, I'm going to show a screenshot, and this is pretty much the first screenshot of the server we have. I can't remember exactly what we had at the time, but some sort of fountain. My friend Aiden had to design our house, and yeah, it had nothing there. It was all just the mountain grass and almost no buildings. However, one way I wanted to prove myself after the cheating scandal was to show that I could actually build without cheating. And maybe that's one of the reasons why the server kind of exploded. It's because I guess maybe insecurity or some way I was compensating. But I ended up building this first part of the castle from here to here, including the eye. After this was built, people really, really started to play on the server. One interesting thing about the eye is that if you go down here, the eye blew up unfortunately, but if you go down here, I have to show this in survival, but you can go through here. And then you can go down here, go all the way down here, go through here, and now you're at the sewers. And to get back up, you will go over here. And then up through here. Also, the eye created the river, as you can see, going through the city. It was like someone had a Frostwalker on. But yeah. So the eye almost kind of gives life to the city. when this was first built, there was no interior, and as you can see, the design is very clunky. It's very unorganized and not really symmetrical. That was just one thing that we've had a lot of problems with throughout the years. Was trying to make an inside for this very clunky build. It does look very interesting, but it is very clunky. So during this time, especially finishing up the castle, we had to start making extensions. This is one of the first extensions right here, this little box, and then down here over to around here. We want to fill up this whole big mountainside, and this was never finished, but this is actually one of the extensions, one of the first extensions. But during that time, we decided to open up a mine because we had to get a whole bunch of stone in order to finish this build. So that's when we created this. This build was not originally here. It was just a straight down into a giant quarry. And as you can see throughout the years, we really have dug up a lot of stone. This was the original train tracks. It was right over here, but ended up being defunct. Especially after we made this tunnel. And interestingly enough, this is actually one of the first builds too. Of course, it was extended throughout the years, but it still was originally one of the first builds. It started right here, and then went all the way out into the botanical gardens. However, this exit goes right into the city. After the castle build, we had people inspired to start working on the city itself. So this is when a lot of these buildings started propping up. The first couple of buildings was probably this and this. We try to give every building a unique, interesting mechanic to it, but it didn't end up working. So this was supposed to be a storage room. This was supposed to be a cactus farm, but that doesn't work anymore. We also have a super smelter down here, but this also doesn't work, and it doesn't work for the same reason as the cactus farm. It's because the ticks for bamboo and cactus stop working, or stop glitching out. And then we started getting a little bit advanced. We built this building with a little spire, or a little tower, I mean. And then we built this hotel. And then we pretty much copied it over here, which we really liked the design, and we thought it was far enough apart to where people wouldn't really notice it's the same exact building. And then we built a more advanced building right here. And then slowly and slowly, we started getting more and more better with our design. During this time, we also decided to make a farm over here. This was very important to us because we were struggling with food. The only food that we really had at the time was the watermelon, but once we got this farm set up, we were able to not have to worry about food for a very long time. When that was happening, Brandenburg was built, are starting to be built. Some of the first buildings here was the Wizard Tower, the blacksmith, the dirt hut, and the castle over there. Also, we turned off fire tick because we didn't want all of our builds to burn down because we built with wood a lot. So this did not burn down. Someone must have blown it up. Not sure exactly what happened all here, but this is very interesting nonetheless. Also during this time, the Hall of Heroes was starting to be built. It was starting to be built by my friend Aiden, and it is still being built to this day. And we're probably going to go into creative mode and just finish a bunch of these builds up, just so we can finally say that we're finished. Because one thing with survival is that you can definitely get burnt out with getting supplies, and we were definitely starting to run out of supplies. However, there's a lot of supplies that we're able to keep up, especially with farms like this that we built during the beginning of the server. There's also a chicken farm in that building. We originally built the first super smelter underneath this church, and we used that. And a tree farm over there. We also had a spawner underneath here that we used to grind for XP until we built the Enderman farm. And there's also a villager farm over here. And they would farm up some supplies, and all that will go all the way over here to this marketplace. So, carrots and potatoes and a bunch of other things. At the same time, we also made a storage room, and we kind of hid it out of the way because we didn't want anybody to take our supplies. We didn't trust everybody on the server at the time, but we ended up banning some people to finally tell everyone where the storage room actually was. And here's where a whole bunch of the stone and cobblestone are, and then a bunch of supplies that we weren't able to fit in the back. So terracotta, arrows, and mob drops. And then I think food somewhere. Oh yeah, right there. And then we also tried to make a cobblestone farm, and that was a fish farm over there. And during this time, we ended up helping Jack with his underwater castle that you saw there. And then he also started making the bamboo farm. That was underneath here. And it uses a mechanism over there, a flying machine, in order to chop up all the bamboo. And the castle exploded. So we built this massive spire. This is one of our biggest projects, or one of my biggest personal projects, because I mostly worked on the design and the repetition of it, and I want to make a spire that's reached the tallest peak all the way down to the lowest bottom. And I want to do that to the new server too, but it's going to be a lot more effort than this. I came up with this design, so from the blue to the blue, it's all the same design, pretty much. And it just repeats and repeats until you get to the top part. And then, of course, the extension, the hallway there, this wizard tower of sorts was starting to be built. And then the frame of the bridge was built. And this tower was actually originally supposed to be a lot more taller, but I decided to take it down because we needed the supplies for something else, and it was also really goofy looking. During this time, we also started making the dock. We only built this section right here. We didn't build the actual dock Not sure what you would call these, but these things we did not build yet. But we also built this ship over here. And you might notice something a little bit weird. You might notice something a little bit weird about this whole place. Because of the farm, the mob farm, we ended up making a whole bunch of TNT, and we used that TNT in order to blow up this entire desert here. And we try to flatten it out, especially around here, but we were just not really able to because it was just a lot of effort. So we ended up just putting sand all over the bottom, and yeah, this was an absolutely massive project that took pretty much the lifetime of the server. But as you can see, we ended up having it work out, sort of. It looks kind of weird, but we were able to make a dockyard. And we also found a fossil down here. And people want to make some sort of little floating wood things, but not sure exactly what they were supposed to be. And after that, especially this massive project that we worked on, it exploded again, the town. So we ended up building a lot better. So this half of the town was all the kind of older buildings, except for that, but everything else was older buildings. And then we get over here, and this is our new design. The first building, of course, is right here. At the time, this was really impressive because it has smokestacks and a cool looking roof, but it didn't really end up comparing to some of these other builds that people built. So you can see kind of the transition of just these kind of old medieval buildings to interesting looking buildings. Not really medieval per se, but kind of fantasy-esque. And then we built this drawbridge and that bridge, or that tower. People started expanding out, building their own modern buildings. And we built that iron farm over there. And now we have way too much iron. There's plans over here to start making some farms all across here, but it never worked out. That statue was built. And we go over here, and then this was the big major expansion was right here. Because we wanted to make Bridgetown, pretty much. And then that's when we covered up the mine, started making buildings, and of course we never finished. We never even finished the wall. At the same time, people were experimenting a lot. This is my friend Paulo's art piece. Very interesting. And over at Brandenburg, they start expanding by building this house, this little Japanese town, that castle down there. Someone built a pyramid, lots of different experiments over here. And this castle was actually one of the first builds too. I forgot to mention this, but it is a little bit out of the way. There's other builds that were some of the first builds, but they're just kind of out of the way. Like this building over here. This was actually a very early build, but it's just a little bit far out, and I still don't know to this day who built it. And of course, I didn't forget about it. My friend Kalel made this giant tower as a big FU to me and my big towers. It's actually kind of insane because this is all concrete, and he made all this concrete with this little farm right here. I couldn't even believe you could make this much concrete in the game, but he really did show me. And we get over here, there's a little witch hut that was also built kind of after the start of Brandenburg. Here's some spires that I left because I want to take pictures. We were very proud of the server, so we definitely enjoyed taking pictures. And I forgot to mention, because it's not something you can really see right away, but during like the second expansion of the city, or the first, we had a friend that made a very modern building. Unfortunately, we decided later on that we wanted to make the whole city medieval themed, sort of, or fantasy themed. So after he built his other house, we decided to transform this actually really interesting house into a sort of ruins in a sense. And if you see in the courthouse, you can see that a person named Duck stole a bunch of pickles. And this is because someone complained that their pickles were being stolen. And that was this guy here, because he had a pickle farm. And this used to be all, at least this part used to be all overground, but we decided to bury it. Because we didn't want to get rid of it, of course, because it was a very interesting build. And the same guy built this house over here. And as you can see, he has all of his pickle supplies back. I thought that was a player for a second. It's like, we're in a single player world. One of the last expansions that we did was this build right here, and then finishing up the dockyard, a couple ships, a sort of submarine. This guy was banned, but he was brought back, and then we expanded by building and finishing out the bridge. We started on a sort of castle of sorts over here, because of course the bridge has to go somewhere cool. Oh yeah, we attempted to make a volcano. There was a lot of deaths in that, and we never actually really made a really good volcano, unfortunately. Oh, I also forgot to mention, this is one of the first builds as well. This is my floating island. Oh yeah, it also has some lore, I guess. Taylor's Island was discovered on the first day of our creation. Taylor claimed the island as his own and planted the first table. This was the beginning of Taylor's conquering. I don't think I wrote that because I wouldn't really call myself conquering. But as you can see, we never finished the floor. So, and also there's the old meeting room. We had a lot of important decisions to make. However, we ended up using the castle instead. And I'll show you a quick tour of the inside of the castle. We did not finish everything in here, but as you can see, we definitely tried. I just want to say, I hope everyone's doing well. If not, just know that a stage of your life are one day just define the rest of your life. The sun setting is just an illusion caused by the world spinning around. There will be brighter days. Middle school and high school were those days for me, but I'm thankful that I was able to persevere and become who I am today. Life is like a waterfall. We're one in the river and one again after the fall. See, the problem with this build is that it's really uneven. So we had problems making the room look good or look well enough. Here's a map room that we try to make. We completed some parts of it, but not all. And then here are some of the first rooms that we made was this kind of botanical garden that didn't really work out, this theater that didn't really work out. And if you go all the way up here, I made a kind of fake scenery. I wanted to make this whole place simulate the outside while being inside. It's very comforting, at least to me. And then we also finished this wizard tower, at least the outside of it, but never finished the inside. I guess July or August, or no, September of 2018 till December 2020, we kept on expanding, but unfortunately during December of 2020 we had to shut down the server because first of all, people weren't really playing, and it was also getting too expensive to keep up the server because people weren't playing. Of course, there was people who would join every once in a while and have fun, but at the time, we had to unfortunately shut it down. So, from 2018 to until the end of 2020, we built all of this, including some stuff out here. This is one of the newer builds actually, because I had a friend who decided to live out on his own and built a very interesting little swamp island here. Okay, and then going out here, we'll find another base. There's a couple bases out here actually. There is a very mechanical type build over here. It's supposed to simulate a desert setting and a building that kind of goes underneath the ground. Same with that, which is very interesting. And then another build over here is, yeah, all of this, which is actually very incredible looking. I actually just saw this build a couple days ago because I don't really go all the way out here all the time because it is far away. But as you can see, it's very impressive. And a lot of the build is actually underground. So maybe I'll show that in spectator mode real quick after I go over here, which is another build that I didn't really notice until now. I'm actually just discovering this for the first time. So it's some sort of house. Wow. Okay. And then some very long line of wood. Yeah. Huh. With a couple of beds. People who said that they didn't have friends to play with, like I do, just know that you will. After moving into my junior year of high school, I had no friends. But during that time, I learned how to love myself during a time of extreme loneliness. I remember going to the nurse's office saying that I was sick so I can sleep in the bed during lunch because I didn't want to sit alone. However, you gotta love yourself before you can love others. Oh man, my foot just fell asleep. Okay, that's a little bit unfortunate. Okay, so as you can see, it's very extensive underground. And oh yeah, he also recently built a tunnel all the way down to Brandenburg. However, let's go up real quick because I have another thing to show you. Right over here is a giant white square, and this was supposed to be for a map room. And there's an Enderman who messed it up by putting a block. Wow, there's a lot of stuff cleared out here. Maybe someone was trying to build a project. The original spawn actually was right here, but we moved it to the botanical garden as more of a symbolic place to put a spawn. I guess this must have been one of our first iron farms we attempted. Yeah. Hmm. I'm sure there's plenty of other secrets all over the place. However, with the sun setting, I think it's about time to end this very, very long video. Thank you for being interested in our world, and hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.